What's up, everyone, and welcome to episode 281 of Two Amazon Sellers and a Microphone, brought to you by Sellozo. And today, we don't talk about this a lot. You know, there's a lot of ways to find really good manufacturers, maybe in countries that you're not sourcing from currently, and saving a lot of money on your products. And we're really excited about our guest today to really dive into all of this. Sebastian.herz, he's the CEO of Signify. What's up, Sebastian? How are you?
Hey, Dustin. Hey, Chris. Thank you so much for having me on the show. What a surprise. And I guess now we're saying it's three Amazon sellers in the microphone, huh? I love that.
That's our
Nice
favorite. That's our favorite. We love to hear stories from other sellers. And then, of course, you've expanded beyond selling, and now you're helping other sellers. So, we're really excited to dive into that. And on that note, we'd love just to hear your story. For anyone who doesn't know you or know Signify, we'd love just to hear, how did you get into selling on Amazon? What were you doing before? Yeah, I'll let you take it from there, Sebastian.
I was just about to ask, where should I start? Probably not with birth, but I'm originally an electrical engineer by university and stayed with the world market leader in industrial automation, which nobody knows, but it's ABB. I stayed with them for 12 years, so biggest competitor of Siemens, Hitachi, Honeywell, GE, Emerson, those ones for sure you would know in the US. And that actually took me to China. And I lived for 6 years in Asia, 3 out of them in China, got another upgrade or another promotion to Singapore then later on. And this is where I actually got to know my better half. And we're still a couple after 10 years. And she's been into sourcing. So she's Russian. We met in China. We started dating there. And I never thought a thing of it. It's like sourcing. Okay, so what do you do? Well, I help, get companies some products. And it's like, oh, cool, fine. Interesting. But just to the end of my China time, I've done so much overtime voluntarily for the company that I had some time off in the end. And, I was bored out of my mind. I went to Chinese classes to fill up the time. And my wife, actually, she told me, Sebastian, you're so annoying. You know what? Here, there's a podcast for you. Go listen to it. And it was Scott Volker, the amazing seller.
Ah, man, small world.
That's the one. I'm speaking for myself, but I know Chris also. I listen to that every day. He was putting out episodes like crazy.
Exactly. You're still listening to it today?
No,
not as much, but it was every day, like 2014, 15, 16. Yeah. It was all the time I was listening to that.
Exactly. That was the time when I started in 2014 as well. This was just before leaving for Singapore. And I took my walks, in Beijing. Now when everybody was crazy about Corona and you wear your FFP2 masks or your masks in general, I was like, what's the problem? I've been wearing them from 2011 until 2014 in China almost every day because the air pollution was so bad. But then I went out for my walks, or even if it was possible for a run, listened to the podcast and said, that sounds reasonable. That's why don't I do that as well? And just started trying, and I was at the source. So living in China, we literally got same day delivery back then already from for products. And we started with the funniest things of, turtles, plush toys with a shell that has lights and the music on. We got the samples. We looked at this and was like, oh my God, the sound is that's going to scare any baby off. It's not going to make them fall asleep. It's going to give them nightmares. But that was the original start. And I think back then I started selling USB cables that had LEDs inside. Until today, I haven't ever seen them, but it was pretty cool. Plug in your phone, and then at night it lights up. And stupid thing was 4 weeks into the run, the lights went off. Customers were unhappy. 3-star product, dead. But that's pretty much back then how it started, getting my feet wet while being in China.
That's pretty nice. You were right there at the source. You could get products pretty quickly. Were you going to the Canton Fair at all and walking around and checking all that stuff out?
Actually, that's even what we still do today. Not really, because for sure, one of the later years I went there and explored some products, but I see canton fairs, or in general, like trade shows, fairs, great for getting ideas, not great for getting the best prices. Why?
Right.
Because those companies, of course, I mean, having a trade show booth is not cheap. Having the travel there, the hotels and all of those things. So and then yeah, they could be good companies. They could be producing quality, but you may also very, very well be overpaying. And this is something you find out by finding more suppliers and talking to more of them. So yeah, for getting ideas, for sure, I went there as well. And we are actually going this year. We're making a sourcing trip for customers together with Amazing at Home, Amy Weiss. And we're going to the Canton Fair, and that makes perfect sense to look at them, but at the same time, go to factories, find out more suppliers, and then look for really good prices.
So what's it like at the Canton Fair? Like all I ever hear is like it's a glorified shopping mall, and it's just huge, and you can't get everything done in one day. Or you have to have a plan. Like
Yeah.
what's it like there?
I mean, just as you imagine a trade show where you see tons of products, where you will see the companies, or many trading companies actually, also showcasing products which they don't necessarily produce. But it's massive. I mean, it's I don't even know how many halls it is. It's a lot. And I spent there, I think, 2 days, and I still didn't get done. But that all depends on, how closely do you look? Do you come with ideas of those are the products that I want to do, like kitchen and household goods, or let's say some slow juicers or any of the other products? Then you have a range that you're specifically looking for. Now, if you're going at the same time, you're maybe one of the beginners, or you say, hey, you know what, I want to build a couple of brands, you will find yourself stopping at this booth, then looking like, okay, wallets, that was one of my things. And then you start looking at like plastic bottles, like, could be interesting as well. And you see everything. If you have a clear idea of what your brand does, awesome. If not, you're just going to be overloaded. You're going to go away with 15,000 product ideas. You probably have 15 bags of samples. And at the same time, you may not find the most important one. So get yourself prepared. That definitely helps.
You talked about you just mentioned the word trading company. When you first started, people were like, "Don't use a trading company. They're not the real supplier. They're going to charge you more. You need to find the real manufacturer, dig deeper." And then I hear others say, trading companies are good because they're kind of like the negotiator between you and the supplier. They can handle more things as far as getting products to FBA. What's your thoughts on that?
And it all depends on pretty much you, where and how you're selling, and how you want the responsibility of the product liability to be. For example, if you're selling in the US and you're responsible for the products inside the US, about product safety and so on, and you don't want to care about that, not take care of it, well, it may make sense to work with a trading company that's based inside the US, because they're going to be the importers and they're going to be responsible for the right and the safety of selling the product. Now imagine just the tumbler you just sipped from. Imagine there's like, not the greatest qualities in there, and you may have some, what's it called in English, cancer-causing materials whatsoever in there. They have not been checked. I mean, you're responsible for getting that straight. Now, at the same time, you can still do all of that together. If you, for example, have a sourcing company on the side, or if you also do this on your own, to make sure to find out what are the certificates, the licenses, the registrations, and registrations you may need to do for a product, and just get them done. Not all of the suppliers have that, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the world. You can still achieve that, for example, with TUV, DECRA, SGS, or many of the other testing laboratories. Now, at the same time, trading companies, unless a customer specifically wants that, we kick them out. We don't want any trading companies, because what do they do in the end? They move boxes. They get a big box, put it in a small one, ship it out. Are they very, very willing to do adjustments? And any of the adjustments that you do, I don't know what you call this in English. In German, we call it silent post, or like a postal service. I tell you something, I whisper something into your ear, and you will then whisper it to the supplier. And in the end, it's like 20% of the information has passed on to the supplier.
Sure.
How willing are they? What they want to do is like, a quick order. It's like, I want this product. Okay, here you go. Boom, out. Yeah, but I want this product with those changes and that dimensions, and here are the drawings, and let's do them. And they then need to communicate this with the suppliers? Unlikely. So, and for that, moving boxes, they hold open their hands for percentages of money. I mean, that's a good job, right? It's just cash.
Yeah.
What's it worth?
Yeah, and I hear that. I'll push back on that. Some say though that trading companies are good because they open doors to other products that you may not be able to get or may not be able to find because they've already got the source of that. I don't know. It's kind of like the yin and the yang.
Companies are therefore as well with doing all of the adjustments. At the same time, what you can also do if you're doing, I'm very happy, I love to give out ideas and content, what you can do and apply on your own as well. You don't necessarily need to hire us, especially if you do all those things on your own. So do go to your supplier and ask them, hey, what else do you produce? What other products besides my wallets? Like, you do bags? Cool. You do fanny packs? You do maybe something else, leather of, like, let's say, for example, you do leather covers over chairs? All of a sudden you start exploring. It's like, wow, you have a product catalog. So go ask them for the product catalog. And then at the same time, if you just start looking around, go explore Alibaba, get some proposals from them, or go on 1688 or whatever the direct access you have where your suppliers could come from, and ask them for product catalogs, and you just sniff around in them. And very, very often your supplier also has a network and friends. Especially in China, it's the guanxi, the relationships. They have friends as well who run businesses. They may produce something completely different. They make an intro to you. So you can also find completely different ideas. And when you're happy with one of the suppliers, go do that. Why? Well, because if he's a good guy, if he's supplying well and doing good quality, guess what kind of friends he has? Probably also some that he wants to relate with.
Yeah. And sourcing products and negotiating and doing this all on your own and inspections, it takes a lot of time. That's when I both sourced products from China, and just, you got to be like 6 months ahead before you even see the product even get here. I'm assuming that's where you guys come in, where I just come to you and say, look, Sebastian, I want to sell these tumblers. I need it to be a 64 ounce with a plastic lid and a handle and a straw that's washable. I don't care what the color is, but it needs to be around $5 to get it. Yeah. And that's pretty much the system. Yeah.
And what we do, for example, when it goes to China, is like, most of our customers, they actually come, with a competitor link of the Amazon seller, or whatever you find on Helium 10, whatever you find in Data Dive. Shout out, by the way, here to Data Dive, of course. They're also developing more and more. Hey, Brandon. Hey, Anthony. Great tools as well. Now, then you start searching literally for potential producers. When we go into China, again, here the target can be, go find your 2 or 3 proposals. But that is not sourcing. We are sellers ourselves as well, right? We also have 2 own brands since 2014. And this is not how I do sourcing. When I'm serious about a product, I directly want to have the good prices. Why? Well, imagine a thing, maybe you get a $3 or $5 cheaper, depending on how expensive it is. Or even if it's just 50 cents. But imagine you're selling 20,000 units of that a year. That's $10,000 in savings. If it's $5 then a piece, what did I say, 10,000, right? So it would be, did I say 20,000? I think 20,000. It would be $100,000 in savings. And we have literally achieved that for somebody, or I've achieved it many times. We've saved our customers now for about $500 million in savings, so 500 million. And just one of our customers, he's not even selling on Amazon, he's selling on Shopify, but in the US, we managed to find him a new supplier, first outside of China, because of the anti-dumping, the Trump tariffs, right? Yet luckily only 27% import tax. And we found him a new supplier who even made it $1 cheaper. Now, secret to the whole sauce is he sells 500,000 units. As you can hear, $1, right? That's $500,000 in savings for the product, and $810,000 on the import.
Yeah. Wow.
This is stuff that you leave at the US border and they just say, oh, it's a product from China? Well, $810,000 please per year, because he sold 500,000 units, $6 a pop, $3 million. 27% of that, of the purchasing cost, is just to leave it at the border to be allowed to import it. We get the same product, always same or better quality. That's the minimum requirement from Vietnam. $1 cheaper, 0% import tax.
Nice. Where else you guys sourcing from? So you said Vietnam, China. Do you do any Mexico? I heard that's coming along.
Yeah, we've also done the Mexico sourcing trip together, also with Amy Weiss. Back then, do I put out the big guns? I guess we also do sourcing for Amazon itself. So Amazon is our customer, and we do sourcing for them outside of China for their own brands. All the I mean, it's surprising to see how many brands Amazon has.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I mean, other countries could well be without now referring where anybody else comes for they source from. But, Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Turkey, Eastern Europe, Western Europe. Our own brand is fully made in Germany, the second brand. The first brand big part is made in China. And now I'm switching over more and more to handcrafted goods, high quality leathers in Germany, Italian leather at the same time. And you would be surprised all the products you can find. But now going towards the US sellers, one of the major markets for US sellers is one of the initial ones is Vietnam, because many of them say, I don't care about the container costs really right now at the moment. I'm okay with the shipping costs that we have there. What I'm not okay with is the import taxes. So for sure, I mean, the Trump organization, they really gave China a very hard knock, because in 2018 they started and they taxed or import tariffed, I think a market back then already worth $250 billion a year. China is bleeding of that. Mm-hmm. But now for US sellers as well to do nearshoring and has massive advantages. It's not as easy as China, but go to Mexico, source in the US itself, in Canada or South America. You can place a lot faster orders. The shipping doesn't take that long. You can place smaller orders, but do it more frequently, right? Yeah. So you're not investing that amount of money in there. And if you're within the same economic region, you may get deals of saying like, bless you and bless you. That's the basic deal they give you. But that you may get payment terms of, let's say, like 60 days delay, right? So after delivery even. Imagine that, what that means for your cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
Yet at the same time, please be prepared. It may take longer to source and find the supplier, not necessarily find suppliers, but get their responses. Because the Chinese are driven to selling. They know it's like, I want to sell, I want to be there. I give great service and sale. And that's why they answer day and night, Sundays, Chinese New Year, all the time. The quality of the answer is a different topic. But if you look into specifically me, I'm German. I'm allowed to. Germans are world champions anyhow in complaining. So I'm allowed to complain about the Germans like I want. We are like the laziest people, I feel, ever in giving proposals. You contact them 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, sometimes 7 times. And you get answer, oh, my colleague, he's on vacation. Oh, Corona. Oh, I'm not reading the emails. Or my colleague, I'm not forwarding my emails. Or we're on a summer break. Oh, and by the way, I'm retiring in 3 years. I have my house at the lake. Why should I deal with you? Oh, you really want a proposal? I'll come beg me 3 more times. Sorry, I'm speaking so much and I'm getting so excited about the topic. But yeah, those are the things you need to learn as well.
Well, you bring up a lot of really good points. I mean, first, anybody who's just now starting their selling journey, mm-hmm. You can get kind of tripped up by going to Alibaba. You're doing your search and you're like, oh, it's $5.73. It says right here. No. But, it's like, you're going to find out as that conversation continues that price is going to change, especially if you've got low minimum order quantities. But then you bring up all the other factors. I mean, the disconnect between what you're getting as your product cost and what your landed cost is in the United States, if you're selling here, with the tariffs you're talking about, shipping costs, turnaround time, what that looks like. There's so many factors involved. And we just had Neil Twa on our podcast not a couple of days ago. I know Neil over at Voltage, and he was outlining, they don't even start with a product unless they've got $12 baked in profit.
Yeah.
That's their starting point. And when you're everything that you're talking about right now, if there's ways for people to shave $3, $4, $5 off their per unit cost, landed cost, that's how people can get there when the quote unquote lazy competitors are just ordering direct off of Alibaba. And that's how you can win this game. And it does take work. It does take, a lot of time to do this, but that's how you're able to be successful. And I know that kind of gets into what you're doing at Zignify. I'd love to just walk through your process. I know Chris kind of hit on it a little bit, but if we were to come to you and we said, okay, look, this is the product we're going after, where do you start? Are you trying to find like the region where that gets produced most efficiently? What does this whole process look like?
You get a pretty solid understanding, Dustin. I don't know if you're looking for a new job, but we're always looking for good people. The thing indeed is, when you're looking at a product, one of the first things to really know is like when you're saving money, whether it's $1.31 million that we saved in 3 hours, or if it's just, in order of $500,000 with 12% savings, that's $6,000. $60,000. It's $5,000 a piece. Geez, I need some blood sugar. $5,000 a month, right? Imagine what you can do with it in terms of placing yourself at the very, very number one of your Amazon listings. If you can invest this into a PPC company and optimizers, spending the money onto even more aggressive campaigns or defense campaigns and all of that. Imagine when you just take the money and go on a very good vacation with your family. Now, the important thing there, of course, about the products to know is like, where do they come from? How are they being produced? And even whatever, those were maybe some high numbers. I just realized if for some of the sellers, it's $100,000 that they spend a year, 12% savings, that's $12,000. That's $1,000 a month that you get in savings. So yes, the very, very first thing is we do a lot of optimization projects also inside China. China is not bad. Hell no. We do so much sourcing still in China. I think originally, like 2 years ago, it was about that we had 10% of our projects were outside of China. Now we have about 45% that are left in China, and the majority is sourcing all over the world. And just like I said, landed cost is also one of the major factors to understand. Shipping, time, and import costs, of course, as well. Now, so it may be that the production cost quite likely will be higher than in China, but the rest of the factors, they may play well into your cards. And when you have a product and you're looking, for example, say it's fresh squeezed orange juice, you most likely will not search in Alaska or Canada, but maybe you'll go somewhere where it's a little bit warmer, right? Maybe Mexico could be an option. Yet at the same time, when you're looking, for example, specific bamboo, it's quite unlikely you'll find this in the US. You're probably looking to some Asian subtropical climates. And when you are looking for high quality electronics, you would probably not source this in Laos, because the country of Laos is still in such a development that they're still building their own infrastructures in terms of roads, piping, electricity, water, and everything. So the more developed the country is, the higher the living standards, the more, of course, they're producing, the better the economy, unless it's like an island state like Singapore, where not much but 700,000 eggs a day are being produced in a chicken farm. The rest is just financial trade or insurances and banks. So yes, the origin of the product, what is it mainly made from? And then you start looking into, okay, where does it make sense to look into there?
Okay,
and
so
then
you find the supplier in the region. Is the seller given a list of like, hey, Chris, we found 5 suppliers through here? Or do we just, like, you just take care of all of it and you say, here's what I got?
Well, in China, we're usually looking for about 30 potential producers. Outside of China, 60.
Wow.
So that is just the potential producers that we're searching for. We're then getting in contact with them. We're asking them for the proposals, and yes, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 7 times, bothering the heck out of them. So please give us a proposal. We mean it serious, and no, we don't only want to compare this to China. We specifically want to produce here. And by the way, that's the background story of the seller. Here, also a hint. When you do this on your own, when you give, in the moment when you're going to a supplier, specifically outside of China, you are actually not really buying. You're firstly, most of the cases, you're selling. You're selling yourself and the idea of having a business together. Means you're selling them the idea, many of them outside, especially the ones who have a shitty web page, which doesn't look like anything. And you think like, oh my God, this company, I'm not even going to contact them. Well, if they're for a long time in the market and they still have that crappy web page and they still exist, they don't need a web page to sell. They have good quality and they get by word of mouth referred. So especially those, you will go and they will look at you and it's like, why should I deal with you? I have my 4, 5, 6 huge customers. So in those moments, you're selling them the idea of cooperation. So therefore, please put them out the MOQ, but at the same time, also paint them, I always say, a positive but realistic picture of how many units is going to be the next 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and show them some numbers, all right? Not just the MOQ, because nobody's going to get up and say, sure, I'll get my best sewing master and make you a new sample for 50 units. You show me 50,000 are possible. It's like, oh, okay. Plus, you have some experience with the previous business. You built something up already, maybe even in the niche. You know what you're talking about. Okay, I may consider giving you a proposal. So once you have that and we contacted them, we get the proposal. Of course, we're screening the proposals. We're looking through them. We're putting all of them in a list, by the way, with all of the contact details of all of the suppliers. We're not keeping any of them secret because we're not taking a percentage of the order volume. We're doing this open, honest, and transparent. And then we come with a list and say, Chris, here's the list. Those are all the suppliers. And we suggest that those 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 of them, those are the ones where, Chris, go get samples from. Or we do that for you. We get the samples, we test them in China before we send them to you or wherever they're being produced. Our team sits worldwide where the sourcing happens, where the production happens, because we go into the factories and we do the quality control also locally in the factories. And we decide what's going to be tested, not what they put in front of us. And then we can continue anything, in terms of packaging design, getting the shipment ready, shipping it over, import preparation, finding logistics companies who will ship it over fast, safe, and as cheap as possible. And, or if it's additional products, find out what else can they produce, what is the catalog from them, what are other business ideas, product ideas, etc., and all of those things. So kind of
This
from
is
the
great.
idea until
Yeah,
the
this is
moment.
great. You guys do a ton of stuff. I'm looking at your website now, and it's just like pages and pages of.
Don't. This is just the very beginning of the webpage. I'm almost ashamed.
Well, you got a lot of services, but anybody who is like serious about sourcing in China, I remember doing this on my own, and it was a headache. It was a headache.
There's
So
some
having
people
a company like you guys would be great.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, but the same, also, I mean, if you see Mexico, just a hint, no prejudice or anything, but, or similar also in other countries, same as Turkey, or maybe Bangladesh, Pakistan, or India. You got to be a bit more careful with those suppliers. I mean, you can imagine, tricks and, yes, in some places, mafia control. There are a few ways where you should look around and be more cautious than in China.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, China really, I mean, that is their economy, and they do make it very easy, to source from them. But like you mentioned, I mean, if you can put the legwork in and you can find ways to get high quality production from other places and get savings on the back end, whether it's with shipping or whatever, then that's a huge opportunity for you. And I think it's critical. I mean, obviously everyone will talk about, the product is a huge part of your success on Amazon. If you have a bad product out there, it's not going to succeed no matter what you do, no matter how good your listings are, or no matter how many positive or in how many negative reviews you have. It's going to tank if the quality's not there. So that's super critical, especially if you're going in and you're going all in and you're making a big first order. So there's so many things, so many facets, I feel like, to this, that this step gets skipped by a lot of people. They want to get in quick, and they want to just start flipping products on Amazon instead of really focusing on a long-term business. And to that note, the relationship with your manufacturer is huge for your long-term success on Amazon.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, but at the same time, you know, be open, be fair, be honest. For sure, listing is super, super important. And yes, people, please, great images. Please, please, please.
Of course.
We have tons of them, people available who make really, really good products, good images. But then at the same time, you know, once they start doing PPC, I mean, have somebody who knows optimization, somebody who knows to do that, because it doesn't help if we save all the money for you and you just waste it on ads that are not necessary, and at the same time maybe hurt your ranking. So focus on optimizing the ads. I can tell you from own experience. I mean, the 2 brands that I have running, I chased it through a few agencies. Well, that was tough. I usually got my results the best on my own, but now I also see it's like, hey, you know what? I'm again spending so much money on that. The A-cost is so high. And I'm not really sure if that really helps. Having somebody who focuses on those 20% of the most important things and really get the best out of your product. By now, I'm happy to invest into companies.
Yeah, I hear that a lot, especially people that are selling more and more. They're like, hey, at some point you need to outsource your PPC. And that's where Dustin and I can definitely help out with that. So at some point. One thing I wanted to talk about, Sebastian, is we're coming up on 4th quarter. Okay. And one of my biggest headaches was like, you get your order in 4th quarter and then boom, you get hit with Chinese New Year. Mm-hmm. You're like, damn, I didn't order enough for 4th quarter. I ran out and I can't get any more till May because I didn't order enough to battle Chinese New Year. So what's a good timeline? Like, when should people start, placing your orders for Q4, get that one ready for Chinese New Year? What's that layout look like? What's that game plan look like?
Do you want to have the products before Chinese New Year or just after?
No, I want them before, because I don't want to. I want to replenish right after the holiday.
Right. I mean, your products are ready. Well, what's your order time usually? How long does it take? And calculate in, just for safety, another 2 weeks. I mean, that could very well work. At the same time, especially before Chinese New Year, the cool thing there is also the Chinese. I mean, they are willing to deliver a good job. Chinese are amazing people. Many of them are working very, very hard. I mean, I have done in 2.5 years in a company in China, not in this company, but in where I was still employed. I've done 7 months worth of overtime, 7 full man-month overtime in 2.5 years. And there were other employees in there as well doing the same thing. I know I'm crazy for sure, a little bit nuts for not being paid for those, but so many of the Chinese do that. And some of them even, they work during Chinese New Year when they're with their families. So it means just before Chinese New Year, they'll hit it hard to get the stuff ready, because they don't want to have the trouble after coming back. Or they may not come back after Chinese New Year. That's one of the biggest fluctuation, or the biggest fluctuation moment of the year in China, when they decide going to other companies. So just place your order normally before that, but be aware that there's a few more people ordering before, so give it some extra time. But if you've ordered before, I mean, your cycles, right? Just add a little bit more safety time. And one of the other things that I see more and more people, to me, it's like it's a given. To many people, obviously not. The next order you do, let's say you have whatever, put yourself products worth of 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks in a stock. You order those separately, especially if they don't have a best before end date, and you lock them in a room. And you put the key to the room into your safe or something, whatever. The reason is, then you have a backup stock locally, which you don't ever touch. Don't ever touch it. Only when you're really running an out of stock situation and you need some, grab it. Okay. Have some safety stock, like trick yourself. Put something into, like in the how's it called in English? I think like a rainy day.
Rainy day fund.
There you go. Don't touch it. Only touch it when it's necessary. Yes, it costs a little bit of investment, but can you imagine the safety feeling?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, going out of stock is a problem on Amazon. It's a big problem.
Yes, absolutely.
It can tank your ranking.
Even if you don't make it for Chinese, again, I mean, yes, for sure, it's going to be tougher. They have more and more full order books before Chinese New Year. So calculate an extra time, know that they have more production to do. Yet at the same time, if you don't make it, what I noticed, so many, especially in the beginning or beginners, they quite often don't know when Chinese New Year is, means they forget to order. And then they will place the order, after Chinese New Year. Don't do that mistake. Even if they go on vacation, place the order before Chinese New Year. Why? So that in the order books, you will be one of the early ones in there. Imagine it coming back after Chinese New Year. They've shut down for, let's say, 4 weeks. And people don't know about this. They keep ordering. They can't process the orders. They're just becoming more and more. And if you're on top, they have a lot more to do before they can get to your order. So still, even if you know you don't make it, place it as early as you can before Chinese New Year. When you notice, like, oh my God, I need stock. And for that moment, you hopefully have your safety stock, just in worst case.
Are you helping your clients manage this process? Are you helping them with forecasting and ordering, or are you just helping them find the sourcing to begin with?
I mean, there are awesome softwares that can really do that. For example, here goes a shout out to SoStocked, Carbon 6, or Venturi 1 is a guy here in Germany as well. Also very, very well respected and accepted software. So if you talk to Kevin Wayne or Kevin Circle, say hello from Sebastian. Venturi 1, SoStocked, other softwares, that can do that as well. Yet at the same time, for sure, I mean, we usually work quite closely with our customers together, also for reorders. And we don't have the access, of course, to the stock, because usually you have it and you usually ship it out to Amazon, to your other fulfillers, even if you go into big box retail. That's another thing where I help people as well. If you have online successful products, I can help you to get into, can't promise it, but do the best. I brought my own products into big box retail. But then you have, the stock there available and ship it out. We don't know the numbers because we don't know when and where, how much you sell. But for sure, our team can say, hey, by the way, what's the stock look like? Do we need to reorder? What's your monthly sales on how many units? Do you have a software where you should look into, keep an alert or so? Or do you want to keep us informing us? So we say, hey, let's check with the suppliers right now. How long is the lead time? All of those things, of course. I mean, we're very, very flexible. The way it works with us is you get a project manager. By the way, all of our employees are female, besides me. That no is not on purpose, just happened on accident. Women are here. Praise out to the women. You are the much better shoppers. You are much more persistent. You can work under women. You are, more detailed, more oriented, more customer friendly, more supplier friendly, more patient, and all of those things. And I think this is why the reason why it happened. We grew now in 2 years from one person, my wife. Maybe that's the reason. She's female and just wants to have women. To about 60, almost 60 employees all over the world, and all female. Now you work together with a project manager, and she handles all your requests, whether it's about finding out what certificates you need, getting the certificates, doing the packaging, doing design, doing whatever is needed in order to get your product ready.
Yeah. Amazing. Can I shift gears real quick and just ask you a question about entrepreneurship? We always it's always fun to talk about entrepreneurship. You obviously had an entrepreneurial mindset. 2014 when you're exploring launching an FBA business similar to Chris and myself, and along the way, I think this is a pretty common story with most sellers is you develop skills that become really valuable when you go through this process, valuable to brands, valuable to other sellers. What made you decide that you wanted to start Zignify? What made you go into that area? Did you feel like you had solved a puzzle piece and it was really helpful to other sellers? Because that's a whole nother challenge. I mean, you're already dealing with your own Amazon business. I don't know if you quit your job previously yet, but now you're wanting to start a whole nother service based business. Talk about the entrepreneur mindset of those decisions.
And if I look at myself now at what we're doing besides that, we also have an own event company. So with 3 others together, maybe you've heard of Scale for E-tail already. It's an event, well, we hold worldwide events and set them up for Amazon sellers. We're building up additional services as well. I help companies like you, for example, building up a partnership network. And I think all of this and you know, consulting others or bringing their online successful products into big box retail, building all of this up through teams, and teaching them how to do that. Now, just like you say, those are skills that I've learned along the way. And what I notice is, yes, if you think that this makes sense, that others could use it as well, people will actually come to you on your own and may ask us like, hey, you've done that for yourself. You got yourself into like 7 big box retail businesses, into thousands of stores. And it's like, yeah, well, can you do that for others as well? Yeah. So the thing that how it actually happened, the story back then, that's kind of embarrassing, to be honest. I started the business in China when I was there. I started sourcing the products, and it took me 1.5 years to understand that the person laying next to me in bed could do the sourcing for my products. I was like, boom, Julia, can you not just do that? And it's like, yeah, of course. And she's been doing, sourcing for hardware stores, kitchen, household stores for the big Russian businesses, sourcing in China. She's later done the sourcing of the Nike, Adidas, Chanel, and Converse shoes and all of those things. And I didn't find the thought. I was like, can we not just do this for myself? And later when we returned to Germany, I slipped into, several of those Amazon networks. One of our customers actually pushed me to say, Sebastian, you got really good questions. You know Amazon very well, but you should go to this German network, kind of like, a Titans in the US. There's one in Germany called AMZ Hackers. And I was like, Dennis, I don't want to go in there. I don't want to have a coaching. I don't want to pay for some guru who tells me something, blah, blah. It's like, nope, Sebastian, you go in there. It's like, okay, Dennis, I'll go. Went in there, and this is exactly the moment where this thing came, right? They started asking, so you do the sourcing, your wife does sourcing for your products? And yeah. Can we do this for others as well? Yeah. And all of a sudden this grew and spread. And anything, guys, that you will learn out there, if you say you want to build up another business, you will see when people value it. What do people know you for? And if you like doing those things, you're born. You enjoy it.
Naturally.
Yeah, I love it. You're 100% right. People are asking you. It just naturally turned into a business for you.
Yeah, my wife has been doing this already as a self-employed person and for like massive companies. But then it just turned into, more. And believe me, whether it's as a seller or as a service provider, networks it's not everything, but it's 98%.
A lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
It is a lot. And Sebastian, this has been fascinating. I know that, this is a part that is a pain point for a lot of people. I think a lot of people can wrap their heads around the business model. Amazon is amazing what they've created because you can start off as like a one-person show, and start to grow your brand, and they handle all of the logistics and the shipping and the customer, everything that they handle allows this, but a pain point is, for somebody starting out or for someone that's even further down the road, negotiating, dealing with suppliers, that's a little bit daunting. It's a huge world out there. How do we narrow down where we're going to source our products? And I know that people listening right now, they're like, okay, this is a service that I need help in this area. What do they need to do? How do they start that conversation with you and Signify to help start sourcing their products?
Wow, that's like the really steep pitch. Like, Sebastian, go. The gate is open. All right, thank you.
Go for it.
Just very simply, go to, let me see if I hit it here, signify.net, a Z in the end and a Y in the, a Z in the beginning and a Y in the end. Well, I'm in the US right now. It's a Z. It's not a Z, right?
Yeah.
We know what you mean.
Yeah.
Or just feel free. I mean, you'll find me, of course, on LinkedIn. You'll find me on Facebook as well. Sebastian.herz. A few Chinese characters behind there, else at the same time. Just, go to signify.net. There's a big button on there that says book a call. And then we'll just discover. I mean, the call, of course, doesn't cost anything. Let's discover, look into your situation. Where do you source at the moment? What would you like to have different? Why did it work or did it not work? What needs to change, and all of those things. And then we can see if we can help you.
I love it. Signify.net. Everybody go check that out. Start saving a bunch of money on sourcing your products. That way you've got capital to invest into advertising. Talk with Sebastian. Talk with Sebastian first. Get a good deal on your products. Come to us. We'll help you advertise it with the money that you've saved now, so we can get that to page one in your niche. Sebastian, great.
Make sure you spend a little bit of money on husband and wife for a nice dinner. They'll also appreciate it.
Of course. Exactly. Of course. Sebastian, thanks so much for the insights. It's super valuable. Hopefully you'll get a lot of people checking out Signify, but it's been a real pleasure.
The same here. I can just not thank enough. I mean, it was lovely. You guys, you're very, very, very nice to talk to. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it. Well, thanks, Sebastian, and thanks everybody for tuning in today. We'll be back at this again on the next episode.